What is up, everyone? Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about how I built my own home studio. Before we go any further, I'd like to point out that I am in no way, shape, or form a professional. I'm not a licensed contractor, and I had never even framed a wall prior to this journey, I guess we'd call it. But it was something that was absolutely amazing. I learned tons of things that I didn't know I was capable of doing. And at the end of the day, honestly, it was more than worth it. I would do it again, and I would recommend anybody out there who is contemplating doing it to just go for it. If you have a little bit of know-how, a little bit of tools, a little bit of money, you could pull it off. With that being said, the space that I am is in no way, shape, or form a perfect space, and nor will it ever be a perfect space. It is not my end goal of where I would like to be one day in the music industry, but it is a great start for now. It is light years ahead of where I was at before. The space that I'm in, because I know you guys are going to ask this, dimensions. Alright, so it is a 9-foot ceiling with 13 feet wide on either side and just shy of 20 feet in depth. All right. For this particular build, I did not do a room within a room, which would have been ideal if I wanted to achieve 100% or close to 100%, sound isolation or sound proofing, as you would. For this particular build, it wasn't necessary per se, because it wasn't the long-term studio that I want to end up in. I'd like to grow from here and get into a space that will really be optimal for doing a room within a room and actually achieving a better soundproofing or better STC rating. So within just shy, it's actually just shy of 9 feet, the ceiling. I didn't want to waste the money in doing a room within a room, because I would have lost even more height coming down. I built the subfloor, so I already lost room coming up. I would have lost more height coming down, and with this not being the ideal size of a space to do that in long term, I didn't go for it in that regard. What I did do, however, is something that was highly researched, at least on my end. I know a lot of people talk about this and research this, is green glue and double drywall. That was something that I put a lot of time and money and research into, so to speak, is figuring out, was the green glue and double drywall gonna actually be worth it, and does it actually work? That's the biggest thing, is does it work? Now, I don't have on me right now an SPL meter of where the space was at previous. Now I can give you an SPL meter of where we're at now, and where the sound actually ranks in this room, how quiet is the room, and I can put that up a little bit later. Unfortunately, I didn't have that before we started. But this room that we're in now is completely double drywalled and green glued, 5/8 inch thick fire code drywall for both layers. And I can tell you, at least to the naked ear, it is night and day difference. I have a family, and the wife and the kids could be on the other side of the wall, the door behind me, just going crazy over there. And inside here, it is so quiet. Sometimes I can't even tell that they're in there having fun or doing their thing. Sometimes I have to actually put my ear and listen and go, is my family still even here? And then every once in a while, I might hear something. And most of the times when I do hear something, it's an impact noise. It's not an actual noise from a kid screaming or somebody talking, something like that. It's never that. It's an impact noise. Maybe somebody, hits a wall or something like that, and it's just that impact where the green glue and the double drywall can only do so much. But as far as stopping sound from speakers or from spoken voice, it does a tremendous job. And I was beyond happy with that investment and what it actually did. With that being said, I also did do a double-walled system, which we'll get into here once we get the video going. And I also did a clever little air system to draw fresh air in from the main portion of the house into this space and circulate it back into the house. So that way I didn't have to actually set up an external air source via a mini ductless system or something like that. It was extremely cost effective and it works. I can tell you it absolutely 100% works. And it is quiet. You cannot hear. If you put your ears up to the sound holes where it's coming from the studio, you cannot hear anything coming through. And I will have some pictures and some videos of that system at work and how I built it. For right now, though, let's go ahead and dive in, and we'll start the video off, and I'll show you where it all started.
All right, so right here, what you see me doing is cutting open the drywall to the bump out, as I ended up coining it later on, which just simply housed the electrical panel. As you can see, it comes out off of the wall in its own framing. The reason why I did this was there is actually exposed wiring that went through the wall to the outside, which you'll see here in a minute. And now the builder did try their best in sealing these holes. However, as you're about to see, they completely missed the hole that the wire is even going through. So little spaces like this, it was crucial to go in and spray foam those big holes right there that you see, as well as every single seam and joint inside this space. I did caulk and or spray foam if it was a larger seam. That way the entire bump out itself was airtight to the rest of the room, so that if anything got inside that little space right there from inside this room, at least it would be airtight to itself right there in that little box. So here I remove the door trim and spray foam the gap between the wall and the door frame, making sure that there wasn't any air leaks. And then I also put an acoustical putty on all the outlets where any gaps may have been to stop any air leaks. And this actually ended up making a big difference because you could close and open doors prior and feel the air coming from it. Afterwards, there was nothing coming through. All right, so here we're gonna put down our vapor barrier, just standard stuff, keep the moisture out. For the subfloor, we ended up going with 1x3 instead of 2x4s, just to save the space on the height, that is. And for this particular build, with the 1x3s and a 2-layered floor system, had absolutely plenty of weight to hold it down. And I have to say the floor is rock solid. Now, one thing that you can't see here is we did on the bottom of all of these 1x3s put a green glue joist tape, and that was just to help with some compression between the bottom of the wood and the floor, so we didn't get any slapping noises, anything kind of weird that might have gotten picked up later on when we were recording drums or anything like that. Then also here on the top of the 1x3, we are putting actual green glue down prior to putting our first layer of flooring in. I have to tell you, the worst part about doing this floor was right there, having to put in all of the screws. I wish I had done a count in the beginning before we started and after to see just how many screws we actually put in, but we had to put in close to 1,000 screws, it felt like, at least, on this floor. We also left our standard gap, about a 16th of an inch to an eighth of an inch gap. That way we could caulk in between it, and the floor itself would have room to expand and contract if it needed to. All right, the first layer is finally done. And here we go, moving on to the second layer. So 3/4 inch thick, if you're wondering. And then for this one, as you can see, we put green glue down the same way that you would put it on your drywall. We put the green glue in between the two layers of plywood. And I have to say, at first, you notice a slight difference when you're walking on it, but nothing too noticeable. But every single day after, up to about the 8-day mark, the floor got more and more and more solid, and it was almost trippy or wild to see how much the floor changed every single day when you would go down and start working on the project, to feel how much more solid it was and how much more quiet the floor was walking on. Another thing worth mentioning is for our second layer, we did overlap all of the joints of the first layer. And if you look right there, you can see, if you look hard enough, where the joint was from the previous layer. That was a big crucial part of it, was making sure that everything got overlapped, just to try to help cover any type of air gaps there may have been.
Well, as you can see, the subfloor is complete, and that concludes part 1. I hope you all will tune into part 2, where we dive into framing and insulation. Fun stuff, you guys. This is fun stuff, all right? Anyways, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it, and please let me know what you think. Drop me a line in the comments below. Ask questions. I'll get back to you guys as quickly as possible. And thank you for watching.